21st century, for this part of the 21st century, absolutely. Putting a tunnel between Korea and Japan, it has to be very, very exciting. So I'd rather spend my money here and my time here going forward. And it will all be much more prosperous and happy going forward. Someday I want to drive from Tokyo to London through this tunnel. I want my children and I to drive to London. Well, the most important thing in my life right now are my children. I never wanted to have children. I thought children were a terrible waste of time, money, energy. I was never, ever going to have children. I felt sorry for people who had children. Well, I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. So now, my children are the single most important thing in my life. Well, when this tunnel is built, I want to drive from Tokyo to London. Yes, with my children. Yes, I hope that my children are growing up to be adventuresome, like I am or was. So I certainly hope that as soon as the tunnel is finished, I will be one of the first to drive from Tokyo to London. And I hope one of the big ones will be from Tokyo to London. Well, the projections are, apparently, that it can pay for itself, that it can be profitable, and so that's the most important consideration. You don't want to burden other people with debt, but in English it's called project finance. In other words, the project itself will pay for itself, and so that is a very good kind of investing. The Koreans don't want to have a lot of debt. The Japanese don't want to have a lot of debt. So if the project finance can pay for itself, it's fabulous. It's great. That's the kind of investing you need to look for, especially with infrastructure. That's what the financial people who've done the studies show. I have not done the study myself. I know it's possible. Will it work? I don't know. You know, the engineers say it's possible to do it. The geologists say it's possible to do it. And the financial people say it's possible to do it. I have not done my own independent research on any, but everybody, the experts tell me it is possible. For the 21st century, for this part of the 21st century, absolutely. Putting a tunnel between Korea and Japan, it has to be very, very exciting. It opens up Japan, it opens up Korea more, it will bring the two countries closer together, It's got to be one of the best things happening right now. No, of course it will help a lot. If all you have to do is get in your car and drive to the other country, that makes it very easy. Otherwise, you have to go to the airport and get a ticket and blah, blah, blah. If you can just say, let's go for a drive, and drive, it will change lots of things, lots of people's mentality, especially in the southern part of Japan and the southern part of Korea. Well, no, of course it will help a lot. A building project like this brings lots of jobs in the first place, and then once it's open, it brings new opportunities for travel, tourism, commerce, for everything. So a project like this, you know, these things don't come along very often in history. We've had them before in England. There's a tunnel between Dover and France, but these things don't happen very often. This is a huge project. It will change geography, and it will change history. Geography does not change very much. This will change geography. The most important thing, in my view, is to make sure people know it's not going to cause debt. The Japanese right now have too much debt, and many Japanese know that. So you have to show to them it's not going to add to your life's burden or your children's burdens in the future. And after that, you have to show it's the benefits for tourism, for commerce, for trade, for everything else. I don't know how you do that. I guess we could go back and see how the English and the French did it when they built their tunnel. Somehow they convinced people that it was good. So first, make sure they know it's not going to cost them any money. It's not going to cost Japanese taxpayers. It's not going to cost Korean taxpayers. It's going to be a benefit in the end, and you don't have to pay for it. The project will pay for it. Well, I don't know why politicians are against it. That's what's confusing to me, because to me it's so clear that this is good for the world. This is good for both countries. I don't see why any politician would be against something like this. Maybe you should sit down and speak to them and say, why is this bad? Because I cannot see any reason that it's bad. I mean, I guess maybe the ports say it's bad for the ports, but it brings so much extra business to the ports of different kind. Maybe not as many ships go in and out of the ports, but it brings lots more business of other kinds because more people and more transit can go through the port. Maybe it's not on a boat, but as increased volume of traffic. So the increased volume of traffic, maybe it's not in boats, but shopkeepers and other people have much more business. Well, I just told you the first ones. As far as raising money, you just have to make sure the projections, somebody can sit down and do the financial projections. I haven't. I'm too lazy, but somebody who's smarter than I am can do it. And if you have good projections based on good principles, you show that to the world. And then usually you can raise money in the markets, especially project finance, if you have good numbers and good principles. Well, it has a lot to do with it, because now you bring Japan closer to Asia and more integrated into Asia. The 38th parallel is opening up. So this is going to open Northeast Asia, especially those two countries which have been somewhat closed and they fight each other sometimes. But two countries which have been somewhat closed will be much more open. I mean, you know, people in London are going to drive to Tokyo too. It's not going to be everybody coming from Asia to Europe. No, many people from the rest of the world, right now it's impossible to drive from Tokyo to London. It's impossible to drive anywhere. But with the 38th parallel coming down, China opening up, Russia opening up, no, you're going to see more and more people, crazy people like me, traveling to see these countries. Well, no, of course it will help a lot. A building project like this brings lots of jobs in the first place, and then once it's open, it brings new opportunities for travel, tourism, commerce, for everything. So a project like this, you know, these things don't come along very often in history.